Alrighty, bye.
Why, you didn't want to say I love you to your mother on camera?
That's rude.
Yeah, that's rude.
Do you know what she went through to get you here?
Oh,
I don't
man.
think about that.
You didn't even say I love you or thank you.
Just imagine you hang up every phone call with your mother with thank you. No context. Like, she just told you some horrible news and you just say thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mom.
And it'll always be warranted to thank your mother.
Any interaction always ends with a thank you.
Sure.
That would make a
That would be
hilarious
good.
video.
I
said
think it
thank
would
you
make
to my
for
mother.
a more virtuous life.
I said thank you to my mother every time at the end of every single conversation with her for a week.
Imagine every sentence. Every sentence you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Mom, what do we have for dinner? Thank you.
Or do like those prayers. Or is it, and thank you, Mother. Mother, I thank you for dinner. Thank you, Mother.
Thank you. Man, just really thank you. Like, for, like, birthing me and, like, even, like, wanting to have me and keeping me. That's a big one.
Whether you wanted to have me or not, you kept me.
Yeah, and
Thank
that's what
you.
truly matters. Thanks, Mom. It's not even Mother's Day.
Every day is Mother's Day.
Anyways,
Yes, it is.
it was starting 3, 2. Wait, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay,
not
sorry,
one.
3, 2. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 14th podcast. I've done 14 of these
Congratulations.
stinkers. I was trying to keep it PG, so PG. What there should be real talk though. There should be a level below PG, but not as low as G. There should be a level between that. I feel.
I feel like there should be.
Yeah, like parental guidance. Like, what about all those movies like Cars? Cars is rated PG. Like, but there's nothing that's like that risque. And
Why would it be
Cars.
rated PG though?
The question really should be,
Violence?
why is anything not rated PG? Because parental guidance should accompany all media
I know.
interactions.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
true.
Oh, okay. You're talking about something different than I thought.
No, I'm talking about,
You're saying that they should be.
I'm saying parents should be a part of everything we do.
You don't see a lot of G-rated movies nowadays. Like, I remember when I was growing up, like, a lot of movies were G.
And they slipped in the PG stuff.
I know. It's like, I saw the rating for, like, Cars 3. It was rated PG. And I was, like, honestly trying to think, like, why is it rated PG? Because it's violent. It's...
Oh, that's true. Cars bumping into each other, knocking
Yeah,
off the road.
What? I just don't understand. I feel like Cars should be rated G, but that's just me.
I wonder if they take it as in like a child's standpoint of violence.
Well, yeah.
Like if it's for a child's movie, then it's PG, but for everybody else, it's not.
But also, like, it's a car. It's a fictional car. Like, cars don't talk in real world. So, like, why? That's not like
You
a
say
stance.
that,
Cars don't talk.
That's
well, I mean, they
because-
beep.
you're clearly unfamiliar with Knight Rider.
What's Knight Rider?
Exactly, not familiar. Kit and Michael Knight.
I've never seen that. Is it a
Look it
movie?
up. It's part of your classical education.
Okay. Yes, teacher. So today I'm with two very special people. To my left, I've got Adam Keffer. Or do you mind if I say your last name, or am I
I
going to
don't
have to bleep that out? You don't care? Okay, sweet. I don't have to bleep it up. I won't say your last name. Don't worry.
It's not a
and
profanity
then-
except in Africa.
And to my right, I got Sam, who I've been trying to get in a video for literally months now.
Mhm.
And it just happened to work out that he could be in this podcast. So I hope that he's not silent the entire time.
I'm gonna try not to be.
Yeah, try not to be, please.
Mhm.
And he's already successful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just talked.
Already
that's
successful.
that's a good thing. So here on the podcast, me and Adam talked a little bit about what we were going to talk about this time, and one of the things that we can just jump in straight in head first is Adam. His profession, you can tell them what your profession is actually, because I don't need to explain everything.
I am a teacher at a classical Christian school here in Tampa, the Paideia School, where I teach 4th grade. It's amazing.
It just clicked in my mind that you could literally go to class and be like, I was in a podcast to all your students, and they might watch this.
It's true.
If you're watching this and you go to Paideia and you're in Adam's class, comment below, because I really want to know. Because that would just be great.
That would be pretty cool.
It gets like 20 extra views just because of you being in it.
It would only increase by 12.
Okay, 12. You got 12 people.
Yes.
In your class. It's co-ed, right?
Correct.
So it's females and
I
males.
have 9 young ladies and 3 young gentlemen.
I don't know if I would want to be in that class or not want to be in that class. That's a toss-up.
I feel like for the first couple of days it would be cool.
I-
After that, it would
That's
probably be
dead
horrible.
on. That's dead on.
For the girls.
For the girls,
4th grade boys are obnoxious.
I can see that.
I feel like for the boys, though, like speaking from the boys' perspective, I feel like it would be cool for the first few days, but then you would realize that girls actually study, and you're getting the worst grades.
So that look that you just
4th grade girls
Wait, do they?
are
I don't remember.
okay, so the way I tend to describe 4th graders is they're old enough to start thinking and young enough to still be cute. So some of those stereotypes of boy students, girl students don't exist yet. So I have some very strong academic boys, some very strong academic girls, some weak academic girls, some weak academic boys. It tends to be a little bit further down where those study habits and things like that really start to.
That's really interesting. What do you think what is the age where like that separation becomes pretty? Because with guys, I feel like there's like 2 main categories and then a couple subcategories. There's either the people that don't like school, the guys that don't like school, and then the guys that really like school.
Well, and I think that's starting. Oops, excuse me. That's starting to happen towards the end of 4th grade, 5th grade, where you're starting to hit puberty. You're starting to move into who am I a little more. The way we divide academics in a classical Christian setting is you have what's called the trivium, grammar or elementary, which is basically kindergarten through 6th grade. Then you have dialectic or logic, middle school, 6th through 9th grade. And then 10th, 11th, 12th is rhetoric or high school. And so around that 6th grade, 5th, 6th, we start to see the movement from receiving facts, answering the question of what, to asking the question why.
Interesting.
And then, there's a book by Dorothy Sayers where she talks about the students being naturally argumentative. And so you teach them formal logic so that they have the tools to reason through the curiosity and arguments.
Arguing in the first place.
Well, I want to argue, so how do I win?
Oh, okay.
And then rhetoric is where they have a head full of facts, they have the tools to think through those facts, and so now how do I express myself in such a way that the people listening don't want to walk away or hit me?
So that's interesting, that whole thing about what and why, transitioning from like asking questions, what is this, to why is this? I don't feel like I got to the why until maybe 9 months ago. And that means I was halfway through senior year. So like, that might just show why I just never liked any bit of school. Like, I didn't like it. I felt like, I think my biggest problem was, because my mom taught everything that needed to be taught. Like,
Right.
she was a good teacher. She taught the essentials.
Is.
Is. Was for me. That's what I meant.
Is.
Well, she's not teaching me anymore. She's not educating me. She's
still
discipling me. I think it's like a different, because like now it's like life problems
It's not
she's
a-
trying to help with, and not just like
Math.
do your math. You know what I mean? Like,
The comma goes there.
yeah. Oh man. You know, I have to admit, looking back, I was really bad at grammar. Like, really bad at grammar. And she put me through so much grammar, and I hated it. But now I'm like, oh, that's actually the one subject that I got beat up the most on that I actually do hold to, like, really well. Like, I journal a lot. All right, I used to. I'm trying to get back into it, but I journal a lot. And even in my journals, I like to be very specific with how I'm talking and how my grammar is used. So, like, even though grammar is, like, literally, when you think of grammar, I literally just think of boredom, just in general when you think of grammar. But, like, when you're writing, you're like, oh, this is very important. So, Sam, any input on grammar?
Yeah, on grammar. Actually, grammar I think is probably one of my high-end like subjects. I really enjoy it. It's really
enjoy
cool.
it?
Like not well, of course, everybody can say they hate school, right? But I would say it's like one of my least lessons
liked.
Yes.
Favorite?
Yes. Anyway, but as you were saying, as with your parents, again, they taught me a lot of grammar too,
Yeah.
and it just kind of stuck, and it kept progressing, and now it's
Yeah. It's because
Very
my
good.
mom she was a teacher and like in English. So like she was like really trying to, like she knew what to challenge me on when it comes to that. Like with math, she's not as amazing at math. Dad is more the math guy. So like with math, I got curriculums for all of my high school, like the like pre-made curriculums that you would do on the computer. And so like when I would be struggling with math, it was a little bit harder for me because I would either have to go to Dad, and then Dad's not necessarily a math teacher, so he's not like the best at communicating how to do a math problem. Like he's great at communicating how to love the Lord, but not in math. I mean, like he'll tell you what to do, and you're like, I don't know how to do that. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? So like, there's strengths and weaknesses to everybody. I'm not like condemning them because Dad does not teach math, but like he knows it, but well, like he was really good at math. But I feel like I didn't have a subject that I was really good at in school. Actually, I will say in the last 2 years, I did write some pretty good essays, I would say. That's the only thing, though. Like, algebra, I had to take 2 years of algebra on because it was like...
I think I have a question for you, Adam. Well, not really a question, but more of kind of like a subject type thing.
Okay.
It was kind of interesting when I was talking to my teacher because I got tested this week, and it was interesting that she said, because I was working like for this year, how some of the schools would let kids do half weeks of school, but this is only for the state of Florida, do half week of school and have the other week for work.
That's awesome.
And it's only in the state of Florida for right now. And I thought that was cool, and I want to hear your thoughts about it.
Oh, yeah. That is
Because technically, since I am homeschooled, I am doing practically that. I am
Right.
working and half doing school at the same time. So, kind of like your thoughts on that?
Now, I'm a little bit on the outside of the mainstream here, where I think all year school would be ideal, with
The essentials?
several 1 week breaks scattered throughout the year, as opposed to 1 2.5 3 month break.
Oh, you're saying no summer?
So I would get rid of summer.
Yeah, I have no summer break.
And so with that context, I would go for a 4-day week. I'd be cool with that.
I had a
But
4 day.
Yeah.
half. You could say 4 is half, but taking
Four
the
is half for me.
weekend, keeping it out, going to a 3-day school
No,
week
it's-
wouldn't work.
That
in
would
my
be
mind.
really intensive.
It's 4 and
I'd
higher
say
for me.
I'd say four. Yeah, if you're not taking an additional 2 months out of the year,
Because even for me, right after work, I go do school. Like, it's what I need to do.
Yeah,
So,
that's hard for me to imagine.
Yeah.
But
and
that's really good that you're doing that.
so as you're saying, I do actually do like probably 4 and more
Yeah.
days out, or
Yeah.
days in.
I did 4 days my entire education from 1st to 12th. 4 days. We didn't work on Mondays because it was Dad's day. off.
right.
But even like in high school, like when I wouldn't go with my parents to everything they did on Mondays, like we still took Monday in high school was like the wild card, because I was like, if I want to do school, I can. I don't have to though. So it actually kind of made it nice, because some weeks I would wake up on Monday and be like, I'm super motivated. I don't want to work the rest of the week, so I'm going to do my schoolwork on Monday.
Right.
And then I would have the weekend. And then there would be weeks when I would push it all off until Friday, and then be working on Saturday. So it's a flexibility that I think some people would not be able to handle, but I think I just barely was able to handle it. Just barely. There were times when Mom probably was like, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah, no, I would, in college, most people are juggling work and school. So starting that in high school.
Yeah, that's really good, dude. Like, that's honestly impressive. Like, I got my job in December, and I was still technically a senior, but I didn't have that much work left because the semester before I really did a lot more. And so the second semester, I didn't have near as much. I had like half less, actually, because I had done half more the semester before. So if you think about it as like a pie with 4 sections, I did 3 of the sections in the first semester, and then only had 1 left, as opposed to 2 and 2.
Well done.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, we had a graduation party here, but I had graduated 2 months prior to that. Like, I had finished all my school like 2 months before that. So I was like, I came here, I was like, what is this? I've been out of school for like 2 months now. What are you kidding me? But are you excited about graduating?
I am. Mm-hmm.
Not having, it's kind of weird. Like, I've always heard like people when I would like listen to podcasts and stuff be like, yeah, there's like a freedom that comes once you graduate, and you like feel like you could literally do anything, but you have everything on your shoulders. It's like a contrast, because you're like, I'm free, but I'm stuck. So like, yeah, are you excited for that?
I mean, definitely putting in the effort. I'm not looking forward to, but once when I'm actually knowing that this is my final year is actually so motivating, just to get it all done as fast as I can.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm probably going to shoot for, is just work as hard as I can until it's done.
I had a friend that actually did her entire final semester final senior year in 1 semester. The entire thing. And she might have been homeschooled. Yeah, I don't know if you can do that in public school technically, but
There is some pacing when you have other people involved in your education.
well, she did it because she wanted to go to college in January. So she went from 1 semester of entire year of high school to college immediately. I was like, that's crazy.
Well, I've had a few students, 2 spring immediately to mind. One nearly made it, where they graduated high school with their associate's degree as well. So the first 2 years of college completed while they were completing their high school.
That's insane to me.
Dual enrollment, summer classes, skipping, what is it? I forgot the word, but where you take a test to not have to take the class.
Yes,
Oh.
CLEP.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. I actually thought about doing that because I was like, that's
That's actually a thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Huh.
a thing. I would do it for like the easy like classes. Be like grammar. I would take a CLEP for grammar probably just because I've taken a lot of grammar in high school. I would just be like, oh, CLEP it. You know what I mean? I don't need to take another college class on grammar.
It
Math I
saves you
wouldn't be able to do.
time. My understanding is the
And money, I think.
cost, there is a significant cost to a CLEP test, and you usually take the CLEP course prior to it.
So my science teacher, Miss Gracie,
Yep.
she actually told us about CLEP in my final year of her classes, and she said that it was $165 to $200 per CLEP test. So I was like, okay. And then you could also go to like the library and like rent out, not even for that much money, like rent out from a library, or I don't know what it's called, like take a book from the library for an entire study guide for a specific subject CLEP test.
Right.
So you could literally just study that for like 2 weeks and like get the test down just by doing that. Like, so like in the aspect of if you're going to college and you have to buy books and stuff, you don't have to do any of that.
Right.
You don't have to buy books. So the cost to just do college and books would be significantly more, I feel like, than just $200 maybe. at most to take a club test.
Right.
I think it depends on the subject.
That's true.
The price depends on
your
the subject.
specific skills that you're able to put into play.
Speaking of skills, that's actually a good term.
Segue.
Well, I'll ask you, Sam, what do you think is your most prolific skill? Like the thing that you are the best at?
Oof.
I'll give you some time to think about that. And then, since you're already a little bit farther in life, when did you discover your specific skill set?
That assumes that I have a skill
that you
that I
have.
am aware of.
Well, I mean, you probably, I feel like most people try to get their most prolific skill in their career. But sometimes their career can create their most prolific skill. So, do you think teaching is your most prolific skill?
I think it's what I am most passionate about.
Okay.
So, as far as being skilled at it, you'd have to ask my students and their parents, which, I mean, you've had the either fortune or misfortune of being my student in Sunday school for a few years now. But I discovered a love for teaching not because I thought I want to be a teacher, but rather because I started to learn some things on my own that I'd grown up in church. I attended youth camps, and yet I started to just, there was a point in camp where my buddies were going to go try to talk to some girls, and I'm like, I think I'm going to read my Bible. We're at Bible camp. I'll just sit here and read my Bible.
Yeah.
And I read Romans, Galatians, and Ephesians.
In one sitting?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so I was just like, all right. Well, now, I didn't get a whole lot of it. I was just kind of reading through it, but I was just kind of blown away, like, wait, this is saying some weird stuff that all the time I've been, at that point, I had graduated from a Christian school. I had grown up in church, and I don't remember hearing any of it. Mm-hmm. At least if it was taught, I wasn't listening, or it wasn't taught in a way that connected. And so we happened to, shortly after that, be without a Sunday school teacher. I'm 18. And I'm like, well, can I teach? I'm like reading all this cool stuff. I'd love to kind of share it and get some feedback. And then somebody who should not have been in a decision-making position said, sure. And so the summer after graduating high school, 18, I started teaching Sunday school, high school boys.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That would be like me teaching our class.
Yes. And
That's no.
No training, no real discipleship as far as how to study or anything like that. Like, I would say, in a lot of ways, you guys are better prepared because the church we're in has such a high standard for Scripture. One, we might let you teach something that you're studying, but it would be under supervision after kind of, all right, submit what you want to teach kind of thing, or there'd be some interaction there. But there was none of that.
How long had you been a Christian before that?
I had made a profession of faith in kindergarten, first grade. But
The first time that you really started to be like, I actually enjoy spending time with the Lord.
That summer was, I mean, there were many times like here and there where I'm like, if I'm a Christian, I probably shouldn't do that. Or the things I'm doing aren't biblical. But when I started to really like, wait, this is God's word. It's like neat and cool, and it's something I am developing a passion for. It was that summer.
I'm starting to realize, because I used to be like a year ago, I went to Summit. I was actually in Summit a year from where this is now. And it's, at that time, I was really like very specific on, I don't believe that like, I wasn't like, I'm very skeptical of younger people professing faith. I'm very, very skeptical. Hey, actually, since you're here, can you check and see if it's recording? That was perfect timing.
Yeah.
Don't.
Sam, your parents wanted to let you know we're eating right now, so if you want to eat, like, go down.
Yep, it's still recording.
It is?
Okay, don't touch
Yeah, it
the
is.
camera. Okay, sweet. We'll get food in a second.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
It's more of them than me.
Okay, sweet.
Andrew got copyrighted.
I didn't get copyright. What are you talking about? What was I talking about?
You were talking about food and asking Sam if he wanted
No,
some.
before that. I was talking about.
Being
Some-
skeptical
yeah.
of
I would-
young
yeah.
Yes.
professions of faith.
I was very specific on or skeptical. I was just like, I don't know if that's really it. Because with my experience, I professed it. I got baptized and everything, and then it went. And then, some people would say, oh, I became a Christian, and then I just went down, and then I came back up when I was older. And so, I've realized over the years that I think there are people that profess faith at a young age and then slowly incline to the point where for the first few years, they might not be doing the most Christian things. They might not be enjoying the Lord as their highest source of happiness and stuff, but they're at least growing to that point. I think of my mom, she professed faith when she was 4 or 5, and that's staggering to me. But I think it was probably a scenario where, just because of how her parents and how the church she was going to was studying, that she slowly inclined to the place where she is now. Because it wasn't one of those things where, you professed it, you go really hard for a couple months, and then you drop off the map for, a few years, which is what I was. But I'm starting to realize that that is a very real thing. Just because you might not be 100% in it, or even 50% in it, at a young age, you're learning things at that age, and if you're showing any type of desire in the slightest, that's good at that age. I look at my siblings, Caleb and Luke. I mean, both of them have professed to be saved, and then it's hard for me at my point being I'm struggling with all these things and trying to live with the Lord, and then I look at them and they're getting their majority of their enjoyment from video games and hanging out with friends and stuff, and I'm like, are they really Christian because they're doing that? Because a true Christian loves the Lord more than anything else. But then I'm realizing that's their brain hasn't gotten to that point yet. Just because they're still developing, they're still learning things, and I think that there is a very real possibility that they could be saved, and they just have that very slow incline. So I don't know. That's just an epiphany I came to recently. So
Yeah, I would definitely agree. It takes time to actually know what actually God is planning and what He's doing. But at a young age,
it's so hard to tell.
Yeah.
Because we're learning what we like, and there are so many things in the world that we enjoy doing.
I think everybody has a moment where they click and they actually start,
Yeah.
seeing it and going in and actually applying it.
I have it a couple times a month.
Well, but even for me, I remember I was like that, and I don't want to say I didn't have a care in the world, but I didn't know God was there, and I got saved at Camp of the Wilds. And before I even went, kind of something started to click with me and God, and it's some stuff started to clear up, especially with my dad's teaching. Even if when it was going in, it wasn't processing, it wasn't getting it. And even to this day, I go back and when I was a little kid and hear all of his teaching, it all makes sense now. Back then, it just was him saying words, didn't ever make sense. Even if his grammar was off the scales for a young kid like me, but even still to this day, I still go back and I'm wow, it's still clicking, and it's amazing.
And that's, I think, partly why Paul is so clear in the fact that one is not to judge another man's servant. If we are Christ's servants, he's dealing with us. We're his slaves. The other believer, the younger believer, is not our servant. That person is Christ's servant also. And so we may be able to speak to them in regards to what the maturity and the insight we've received, but to say you're not really saved because you still watch movies, or you still have a television in your house, or whatever you listen to. What? And
Oh, gosh.
Skillet.
Hey,
Hey,
y'all need Jesus.
Cooper. He's earned some respect over the past couple of weeks for
I
me.
made a video about it. It's already out by this point, but
Well, be sure to check it out.
it's not out
After
when we're
I watch
recording
this
It's not out when we're recording this, but by the time this goes up, it will be out.
Okay.
So
But for me to say, look, you're 10 or 12, you can't really be a Christian because you spend an hour a day on Minecraft, or Roblox or whatever
That'd be
it
so
might be.
rough on a kid. I feel like
oof.
Well, right. And the thing is, if you have a kid who says, "Oh, I'd rather read my Bible," okay, let's keep that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't
So we
change.
don't squash and say, no, don't read your Bible. Go play Minecraft. Be a normal kid. No.
I don't think I
No.
would ever say that.
no.
But the thing is, we tend to encourage childishness in children instead of calling them to maturity. But at the same time, if they're not exhibiting maturity, we ought not squash them because they're acting their age.
This is a really good topic because I was literally okay. So I want to know your opinion. I had it. Oh, I'm losing it. What do you think we should do about, because I've talked about this in a podcast before, but there's almost like for people our age and like a little bit younger, from like Caleb to me,
Okay.
there's almost like an awareness that all of us who grew up in the church or go to church with our families have, that all of the most Christ-like things to do, that's the stuff that our parents do, and that's so cringy. Like, I'll have times where I'm like, my dad will be saying something, or like he'll say like, you should do this, and I'm like, that's so cringy. Like, why would I? No. Because like, so like he for instance, he was like, you should grab Luke or Caleb in the morning and like do like a devotional with them for like once a week, and I was like, and then a couple weeks went by and I thought about it more and I was like, okay, that's actually not a bad idea. You know, that's not weird. It's actually good, you know? So like, what do you think we should be doing, us who are now having this conversation? We're aware that we have this. I mean, you could probably speak to it. Do you ever feel like sometimes someone will say something that's like really biblical, and like you just look at them like, you know what I mean? Like I do that all the time. Like even Caleb said the other day, I was talking to him. We had some like problems that were going on, and I was telling him like, you know, you should really be striving to do this, and he's like, you sound like Dad. And I was like. I literally had a moment where I was like, oh. And then I was like, well, that's a good thing because Dad's a very wise man and he knows what he's talking about. So if I can sound like him, that's a good thing.
Yes.
I literally said that, and I was like, so like, I don't know. I've been trying to figure this out for a while, and I don't know if I'll figure it out anytime soon. But like, how do we get past that border?
That cringe.
How do we get that out of our mind and also get it to other people?
I think that's kind of like with the young kid stage, kind of like for that, but it's for teenagers part. We have the cringe, I guess.
Yeah.
We got the cringe stage instead of the play stage, I guess. So I guess we just need to grow out of it.
It's almost like because as adults, I feel like I feel like I get both ends of the spectrum right now. But as adults, when someone is talking very biblically, you feel kind of ashamed of yourself if you're not joining in, and you haven't been living biblically and talking biblically like they are. But I feel like the reaction that teenagers have to that is that cringe. Instead of feeling shame and stuff for not doing it, they almost are like, oh, that's weird that he's saying that. You know, like, oh, I wouldn't say that. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like weird.
Okay, do you still have those cringe?
I have both moments. I'll have moments of both. So, like, you can tell I'm transitioning because I have the moments where someone will be saying something, I'm like, oh, man, I wish I was talking like him. And then, but there are also the moments where someone will say something like that in, like, just the middle of, like, a conversation that had nothing to do with it. I'm like,
Okay.
really,
so-
dude? Like, why? We were talking about Endgame. Why are you bringing up, like, the morality of God and stuff? So, like, but then I look at it, I'm like,
I can see where you can get the cringe sometimes, but the way you're saying it, I actually don't get the cringe that way. I
Yeah.
want to join in almost like 90% of the time.
Well, that's a good thing. I think that's a sign of maturity. I feel like because like it depends on like the setting that you're in because there are.
Yeah, when you're at home with your dad and
Well, yeah.
your dad said, yeah, I can see where that's cringe, but
But if there's like like there are times like there'll be weeks or months that we're like in a low point like with God and stuff and we're just not motivated. I mean, I feel like the older you get, the less you have those maybe, or like the less time it takes for you to snap back into like what is good and stuff. But for me, I know that it's like it's not 50-50, it's more like 60-40 and it's 60 for the bad mainly. Like I'll be having like 2 weeks that are really bad and then I'll like have like 5 or 6 days I'm like you know what I mean? And then it goes back. It slowly inclines back. So like I feel like those moments where I'm really low are those moments when I really do feel that cringe and that shame. Those reactions, both of them, to like godly things. But when I'm in those high, I'm definitely where you are, and I'm like, if someone starts talking, I'm like, yes, let's talk about this. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like, you know, get engaged and stuff. So like, when you're gonna start noticing this now that I'm talking about it. But when we're in Sunday school, and if you mention something and I get like really sad, I'm like. You can
It's
tell.
been a good week?
Yes, it's been a good week if that's happening, or at least it's been a good last day where I woke up on the right side of the bed that morning. But if I'm just
If you
sitting
put
there,
the
I'm
left
like,
side
and I'm
against the
just sitting
wall.
there like, just like zoned out a little bit, like zoned into you, like looking at you, but zoned out. It's probably not been in the best of weeks, and you're gonna notice it now. But
Well,
I don't know if that's personality though,
it might be.
because like for me, I focus on positive like all the time. I try to avoid negativity like 24/7, and it's my personality, and I know it. And
What about when you're at home though, like by yourself? Do you find yourself slipping into the negative when you're by yourself? Because that's
actually, not really. I always
Really?
try. Yeah.
that's nice.
I mean,
that's
even today, in like I don't know. It could be a problem for me, but like if people are in the car and they'll like say something negative, I'm like, why are you being so negative?
See, that's good.
And I've gotten a couple comments back that weren't really not nice. And I think it could be a good or a bad.
You're right. It's definitely personality. Not all people are like
Yeah,
that.
I think that's your personality.
But I also think
a little bit.
like based on where you are in life, like in age, like things will change. You know, like once you get out of high school, you'll probably things will probably start changing because I think there are really two big developmental areas. They say midlife crises are a thing. I haven't reached that point yet, but that might be the third one that I haven't discovered yet. But like the age from like 13 to 14 or 13 to 15 or whatever when you're developing your opinions. And then now I feel like I'm in a developmental stage where I'm like, I have to do what I don't want to do.
maturity.
Same here.
Yes. So
Growing
like
up.
that, like when I'm out in public and stuff, I'm like, yes. And then the only times when I'm not like super cheery and stuff when I'm in public is like when I've had a really bad week. And then there are occasionally it happens like that where I'm just like, I don't feel like talking to everybody, you know, like, you know what I mean? But like that's where my extrovert and introvert collides, and I'm like, yeah, no, introvert this time, you know, extrovert. I don't know. That's weird.
I would say one way to battle the cringe, as you call it, is to examine what you value. So, for instance, if somebody said that you are exhibiting characteristics comparable to somebody you really admire,
Paul Washer.
you'd
John
be-
Cooper.
you would not cringe.
No,
You
I would
would
be like
you would glow, right?
Kevin Young.
And so when you hear somebody compare you to your dad, and you cringe, it's that same problem where we can tend to elevate some pastor who has
It's the same thing John Cooper was talking about. Yeah.
yes,
It's the same thing.
instead of the local pastor who is pouring into you week after week throughout the week. So our parents are pouring into us day after day, whether they feel like it or not, whether you feel like it or not. And so we tend to lose sight of that and lessen our value. And it's like, yeah. And the things of God, the same thing. We elevate, wow, your YouTube channel is doing really well. Wow, your Fortnite scores are really high. And those are the things we wouldn't cringe at.
No, not at all.
But
I
if the
would cringe at
conversation
Fortnite.
goes that way, we're excited. But if the conversation goes toward holiness, like, well, I'm not living holy.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about that. Makes me uncomfortable. And so because our values, because our desires are being trained in a different way by ourselves, by our sinful nature, our selfish desires, well, then we cringe at that which we ought to be pursuing.
Yeah. I definitely get that. That's like, I forgot what I was going to say. Take it, Sam. Take something. Say something. I forgot what I was going to say.
Sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
You're fine.
You were just talking about the cringe thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that's what it was. With that whole thing with John Cooper, how he's saying we're elevating spiritual leaders and
Yeah.
stuff like that. What I took from that sermon was actually maybe not what he intended, but I took it because I had heard about that stuff. And then shortly after, I had that conversation with Caleb, where I was like, oh, that's a good thing that I'm like that. Even though that was a slight moment where I was cringe, I took that whole thing from John Cooper being like, I shouldn't elevate specific spiritual leaders. But anyone who's preaching the gospel, they should be in some way elevated a little bit. Not to the point where
right.
you're praising the man, but where you're praising what God has done in his life. Like, I had to preface that in my John Cooper video being like I was like, John Cooper's killing it, you know what I mean? I'm like, and then by the end I was like, he wouldn't be doing it without God though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you gotta do that preface. But I took from that whole situation with him that we shouldn't be just elevating the Paul Washers, the John MacArthurs, the John Pipers. We should also be elevating the local pastors, even if it is my dad. I mean, if someone said I was like Stephen in any way, shape, or form, I'd be like, thanks. But like, if someone said I was like my dad, at first I would probably be like, eh. But now that I've heard that whole sermon from him and stuff and started to think about it a little bit more, I'm like, well, that's a good thing. I mean, he went to masters. He learned all these things. He has had many, many years of preaching and stuff, and he lived a horrible life before he was saved and had this massive transformation that God created. Like, if anybody's comparing me to him, that's amazing. I mean, I did a podcast with my dad on this last Wednesday, and it was extremely weird to do. It was the weirdest podcast, just because it's weird. It's just ingrained. It's hard to not get to a point. And I'm hoping the older I get, and maybe like when I move out and stuff, it won't become as weird because I'm not seeing them all the time. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, spiritual leaders. They should all be leaders.
Even for me, I've had a few people tell me that sometimes I'll talk like my dad. I'm like,
maybe that's
thanks,
because he's
but
my dad.
like, even to me, like, there's no way I can compare to my dad. Like,
Yeah. I me neither.
there's no way.
Like, both of our dads are, like, up there. Not in age, but just, not just in age. But not,
It was weird when we went to California onto the Masters, and last time I went, it was just me and my dad, and we were just kind of like going around because we had to do some stuff. And there'll be people there that I never knew who talked all about me and my dad, and I never met this person, and like all these people are like coming to my dad and stuff. He's like, it's like almost like a superstar. I'm like, oh my goodness,
he's like a celebrity.
Yeah, and to to somebody who says something like that to me is like almost like in his footsteps. I'm just like, I can't even imagine.
It's definitely the hardest with that, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's now I'm thinking of it,
Definitely.
there's not another spiritual leader that I can think of that it would be harder to have compared to myself. But
Oh, yeah.
even still, like, it's not a bad thing. It's a very good thing.
Right.
Like, to be compared to someone because of a good attribute should be a good thing.
Right.
Like, always. Like, that's a compliment. I mean, if they're comparing you to, like, a bad thing about this person, like, oh, you sound like your dad because you slur your words sometimes, or you like you spit, like I just did.
It
I'd
didn't
be
reach
like,
over here. I'm good.
But
I mean, it's just the way how people take it from that.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
actually want to kind of change the conversation.
Yeah,
Maybe
yes,
a little
completely.
bit. Let me think. What was I going to say?
I feel like we reached the end of that pretty much. So, do you have anything else to say about the whole John Cooper thing?
Just that I am thrilled that somebody in his position. I'd read an interview posted in some like Christianity Today article years ago where he was talking about not being blatantly Christian in
This
his
is
lyrics.
the article that my dad read too, and made him skeptical too at first.
Yeah, and so it's like, oh, he just wants to kind of keep his feet in both worlds and get as much as he can from both. And then to see this and what he's been doing recently, I was like, great. That doesn't mean that it baptizes that previous statement.
That's
That
the
was
problem with
still
the
wrong.
article, though. The article words it wrong because I've heard him talk on this subject, like, in person. Like, I haven't met him, but I've heard him talk about it in concerts. And I've heard other Christian rock bands talk about it. It's not that they're trying to get famous or make more money or keep their feet in ponds because sometimes they just want to talk about secular things. It's not that. Like, there are probably Christian bands that want that and have the reason for that. But I know the two bands specifically that don't do that are Skillet and Disciple. Disciple's the other one. Calvin Young is one of the most legit Christians I know. And especially him. Like, Skillet, this is my one beef with Skillet. I'm kind of on your side, believe it or not, a little bit more than people realize. I love Skillet's music and stuff, but do I wish that they made more God-related songs? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do understand why they do what they do, because I've been to 2 Skillet concerts. I'm planning on going to another one in the fall, and there are tons of people there. Like, their biggest crowd, I think, was like 50,000 people or something. It was like nuts. It was like huge, like over in the UK or something. And the majority of those people there probably aren't saved. And yet they have that short 5-minute span or 5 to 10 minute span in between a song where they get to literally preach to 50,000 people, and who more than half are probably not unbelievers. Like, that is an opportunity that is very rare to get, especially for someone in Skillet's position, because Skillet is the #1 Christian rock band. They are. They in stats wise, like popularity and everything, they're the #1 Christian rock band, not Christian artist, just Christian rock band. And they've got over 1 million fans. Guaranteed, not 1 million Christian fans. Maybe 1 million Christian fans, but that's not all their fans. I wouldn't even say half of them are, maybe. But they have the ability to reach out to these people through they're not writing about bad things too. Like, there are songs that they're writing that aren't specifically about God and Jesus and stuff. They're writing about, like, struggles, like depression or like suicide even. There's a song called The Last Night, I believe, and it's talking about how he met this girl that when he was younger, he met this girl who was thinking about committing suicide, and how he tried to just help her and not keep her from doing that and stuff. And even though he wouldn't directly say, like, oh, you need Jesus or anything, it was in there. And the Christian, if you're a Christian, you can see it, but the unbeliever doesn't see it until, like, they hear him talking about the story behind the song, and they're like, oh, maybe Jesus can save me from, doing that seriously bad thing. So, like, that, like I said, the one thing I have with Scale, I wish they did it more, but they are doing it. Like, their live shows are amazing. Now, Disciple, on the other hand, Disciple is a little bit more, and they're to the level where I really do appreciate it, because the majority of their songs are about God. And when they go to concerts, he has spent like 50 minutes once on a concert just talking about Jesus. 50 minutes. Like, that's like more than half the show. He did more speaking than music.
That's more than most evangelical churches preach on a Sunday morning.
And he talks about it a lot. But the reason he does what he does is he sees the fan out there who loves the music, who is a believer, and has an unbelieving friend. And says to his unbelieving friend, "Hey, do you want to go to a rock concert?" He's like, "Heck yeah!" And then they go, and then that unbeliever, maybe for the first time, hears the gospel and gets saved from that. That's what they do. Like, that's amazing. Like, it's hard in our day and age to get people to come to church. It really is, I would say. Like, evangelism is extremely hard. It's extremely hard for me to process just going to a neighborhood and being like, "Hey, you want to come to church?" Even though I probably assume that have no desire at all to come to church. That is one area of evangelism where I see the goal and I'm like, wow, if you can accomplish that, that's really impressive. Because God has given you this talent to share him with the world. Like, that's amazing.
Back early 2000s, I went to a ton of local punk and metal shows at churches. And I would say most of the kids there maybe went to church, but weren't believers. And so the question then becomes, does the music become a gateway to secular music?
Yeah.
Or does the music become a gateway to the gospel? And if you're going to hide the message from the lyrics, really you're just kind of saying, hey, you like this style of music? We do that style. Hey, so does the secular band. And the secular band will tend to be more upfront with their worldview in concert.
It's very hard, because you're like, as a Christian, you're like, okay, I'm listening to this music because I glorify God through this music, like I do. When I listen to Skillet, I'm glorifying God, even if I'm not singing a song that's directly about my. But it is a line where you're like, when does it stop being that? When does a song become not glorifying God to listen to it? Does it become when they're talking about sinful things? I mean.
I would say you could have somebody singing Amazing Grace without the intent of glorifying God.
Exactly. That's the argument for why rock music is not of the devil. I'm not even kidding. You know how, like, Southern Baptists, they were like, way back in the day, they were like, rock music is
way
of
back
the
in
devil.
the day.
Or like, I'm sorry. Way back in the day for me, they were it's of the devil. Just because Kevin Young, the singer of Disciple, made this distinction. He said, you could literally, he was like, let me set the scenario for you. He was like, I'm on a stage at a church congregation. Not church on Sunday, it's just a congregation of people. I could play Amazing Grace start playing Amazing Grace on the acoustic guitar, like we do. And then as soon as I plug that guitar into an amp, it instantly becomes demonic? That was his question. Does that make it so that when I'm playing a rock song that has cursing in it, and then I unplug it from that amp and start playing with the acoustic, does that make it Christian? Like, that distinction literally, like, that's the perfect argument for why rock music is not sinful. Because, like, it's not about the sound of the music. It's about the message and the intent of the author.
And the receiver. It's a two-way street. I mean, you have to examine your own heart when you're imbibing media, as well as the producer has to examine their hearts as they're creating the media.
And the thing is, like, I accept that not everybody is going to like rock music. I've gotten to the point now where I'm like,
they just haven't tried the right band.
Yeah, but like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I know that I'm one in a million with like my preferences on music. I literally like rock music, 40s music, and classical music, and that's about it. I like worship, but it's just not something that I will listen to in my own time. On Sundays, let's go all day, but like that's not my cup of tea. Like, even though my mom and dad will listen to that and stuff, but if someone listens to pop music, depending on the song,
What kind of music?
popular music. Did you know that pop stands for popular, I think?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that until like last week. I was like, oh, that's why I hate it.
Always. Always. Well, apparently your favorite band has over 1 million followers.
Yeah,
So,
they're the most popular band. No, I mean,
I think pop is more of upbeat, popular music.
yeah. It's really the stuff that people...
which is why metal
Because that is-
covers of pop music is where it's at.
Epic. Some of them. I would love to hear a metal version of Old Town Road. I'm just saying. That would be crazy. I'm going to look that up now.
You should.
You want to change subjects now?
Yeah, what were you going to say?
See,
Sorry.
I was like, I
got
had
a
something
tangent.
actually worth talking about.
Tangent. Sorry.
Okay. Well, let's go back on. This actually you can kind of answer. And I've asked this question multiple times, and I've gotten quite a bit of answers from our standpoint, actually, of growing up in the church and being God with right from the start. And like I look at some people who started out their life in sin and they dramatically change. How we just try to keep God on the high as much as we can. We kind of just do that. But I find people like you to, like, once when they hit that mark, they shoot up above even me because I've been keeping steady, if you know what I mean.
0 to 100.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't out like
Because
shooting up heroin and shooting up liquor stores.
no, but compared to us, that's
Wait,
it's a lot
so
more.
you went to church as a kid?
Yeah, I grew up in church.
Oh, that's
My mom
right,
made
that's
sure
right.
I was in church all the time.
But
What happened that summer after high school was that in reading the scriptures, the Spirit made it alive, made it real.
okay.
So there was conversion
Gotcha,
in a
gotcha.
sense, though.
Not
I wouldn't
dramatical.
deny that something happened back in kindergarten, first grade. What I would say is the example that somebody actually used in a testimony night where my dad was the other example. He was given himself as an example. My dad had just come to the Lord. And he said that those who grow up in the church tend to have what's called a leaky faucet testimony. It's drip, drip, drip. Over time,
no, it's exactly
that water can cause great erosion, massive change. But it's not as visible to somebody standing by as a fire hydrant.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
That's actually really good.
It's not mine. I wish I could claim it. But somebody knocks the cap off a fire extinguisher, there is immediate, drastic change. And so we see that and we think, oh, that's awesome. Whereas we then depreciate the value of a life that was protected from so much heartache, so much danger, so much trial, that the person who has that dramatic change, you see the change, but the scars are there. Think of Paul. He says, I'm unworthy to be counted even among the believers because I persecuted the church. I'm the chief of sinners. Not worthy to be called an apostle. That's but he has that. I mean, we all talk about that Damascus Road experience. How those of us who grew up in the church, I wish I had something like that, because then we can take that moment, and that becomes our comfort. That becomes our okay. I know it's real because that happened. Instead of, and here's a Paul Washer thing, it's not that we've repented once, it's that we are continuing to repent. It's not that we prayed a prayer once, it's that we continue to pray. It's the person who has that dramatic testimony, if they don't maintain a leaky faucet after that, they're probably not actually saved. They're that soil that produces a plant that shoots up and then withers away. Mm-hmm. And so, you have those people. One of the things y'all were talking about dads. One of the things I love about my dad is that when he gets his mind set on something, that thing's going to happen.
That's amazing.
And for me, it's like, all right, well, hopefully we'll get to it. I've got 20 other things that have to be done. And 6 of them are children. But it's just we don't want to elevate experience and emotion. We want to elevate the sovereign grace of God that keeps his people and changes his people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good.
Really well said.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sure that if you typed it up and put it into a when you steal people's work, plagiarism.
Yeah,
I'm sure most of it is stuff other people said.
Imagine if there was like a plagiarism thing that I don't know, it detected everything people said.
Mm-hmm.
Every YouTuber would be fined and kicked off.
One thing, real quickly, I want to ask Sam and then transition over to you because, okay, so Sam, we're both single, we're both young, we both are looking to the future. Sam, how excited are you about having kids, or are you excited at all?
Just kids.
Just in general, kids. Let's not talk about the other thing involving marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A wife?
Yeah. Let's not talk about that. Fine, let's just talk about kids right now.
Yes, I would actually.
Are you looking so?
Am I looking forward to it? Not to be honest, it's gonna come when it comes. I'm not looking forward to it, and I want it, but I'm not gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait. I just can't wait till I have kids. Can't wait till I'm married. No, it's gonna happen when it happens.
So, as I've gotten older and stuff in the last few months, as I've matured, that wasn't the right word. Gotten older, as I've matured, hopefully, over the last few months, I've discovered that I can't wait. I remember my mom and dad having conversations about, for the first 5 years of their marriage, they couldn't have kids. And that when I came, it was like, it was the happiest they've ever been, or something like that. And I'm starting to understand that. I've definitely got that gene, because I'm like, I can't wait, because they're literally I'm going to have someone that I live with, that not only am God's using me to create them, but there's almost this I realize this, with your parents, they chose you. You didn't choose them, so you kind of stuck with them almost. You know what I mean? Not saying anything bad, not saying it's a bad thing, but that's why the first big relationship that you have that you choose that is long lasting is a wife and stuff. So that's why for a lot of guys it's such a big deal, because you're this is the first person that I'm choosing to actually spend an entire lifetime with, that I wasn't just chosen to be with. It's the first person. Because friends there are friendships that will last your entire life. I'm pretty sure that me and Elliot will be friends until we're 80. But I'm not living with him. You know what I mean? The only two people groups that you'll ever live with, for a long amount of time, is your parents and their family and your own family. And the distinction between the two is one you're born into and one you kind of create. In a sense of, obviously God is helping you to create them, but that makes me extremely excited, because I'm this person, I'm literally going to, it's scary and exciting at the same time, because you're literally going to get to help them, with everything. you're building their entire personality basically, because I'm a big fan, like, there's nature and then there's nurture. There's a lot of nature, but a lot of the things we do is because of nurture, like how our parents trained us and stuff. So like, even though like all my teenage years I was quiet, I had that little bit of my father that when I would hear him talk all the time, it has started to settle in now, and I actually have that, like, ability to talk and stuff. So like, even though I wasn't displaying it, it was there, and I would talk to my parents all the time and stuff. But
I don't really like
Is
how
that
when you
daunting?
say, huh?
is that daunting?
Daunting.
That thought that you're gonna learn someone from their smallest point to their
Oh.
18-year-old or whatever, however long they stay. I don't know how long people are going to be staying when they're in that time period.
No, what I was gonna say is like, for me, like I don't want to have my kids be or give them their personality. Like I don't even know if that's a thing, to be honest, because it's still them. You can motivate them to do what you like, and that is a thing, and that can result into a different personality. But to be honest, I would rather have my children have their own personality.
Well, okay, when I say personality, I don't mean like
Because
skill sets and train. Like there are things that are just come, like, and they discover and
no,
stuff. Like,
yeah,
my dad and my mom would, like, they
you're talking.
probably wouldn't have done YouTube or video editing when they were my age if they lived in the culture that we live in currently.
Yeah, you're talking about skills.
Like, no, not even skills, but just like personality traits, like specific things that you just do without even thinking. Like it is
yeah.
inherent that you do things that are like your parents. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a little bit of my dad's charisma, but not all of it. I've also got some of my mom's shyness. It's a combination of both. It's a personality trait that is not just from the gene, I feel like. It's supported
Okay,
by
I
the
see what
gene
you're saying.
when you're
Yeah.
growing up, when you see them. So, like, you have the gene, and then it's kind of strengthened the more you see it. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, you have the gene. So I have the gene of my mom's shyness, but my dad's charisma. And then I see it, and it grows it more. And depending on which one I see more and embrace more. So, like, when I was younger, I might embrace, like, my mom's side a little bit more. And then now I'm maybe embracing my dad's side a little bit more. Because you're still developing until, like, 25, I've heard, or something like that. So, like, I don't know what that's about.
What about you, Adam? Like, if you ever see your kids see your father's side and your personality come out of them, how do you feel? Do you think it's cool that you see your
Because you're
own
having a kid in the next week.
your own personality come out of somebody else? Is that kind of weird?
Man.
Is it cool?
I'm trying to think. It's pretty frequently where one of my children will do something and I'll say, Crystal, that was you. Or, nope, sorry, that was me. And it's them. Like, they're the ones doing it. But, and, we talk about, we will exhibit certain qualities and traits that we've picked up, whether that is through simple overexposure,
Yeah.
or genetics. I don't know enough about the science to comment there. But I mean, when I think of the fact that I have 5 children, number 6 is due in a couple days.
And by the time this is posted, she or he? I don't
She.
know. She will probably be born.
5th girl.
Man, that's
Names?
crazy.
Sorry?
Name?
All right, so
we not-
I don't give away
Yeah,
the
I was
names
gonna say-
okay,
before the birth.
Some people don't do that. They don't do that.
But
Because it's
I was just-
it's disrupting. I was gonna say bad luck, but I was like, oh, that's not a thing. I was about to say disrupting the providence of God, but is that how you say bad luck in Christian terms?
oh man, if there's a reformed lexicon, it's like disrupting the divine providence.
I'm gonna look that up after.
But no, it's interesting, and nothing was more interesting to me than with our first. And I've told this story numerous times. She was old enough to crawl and start pulling herself up on stuff, and there was this one dresser that she could crawl to, and she wasn't going to pull it over, but we didn't want her training herself to pull herself up on things that could fall over on her. And so whenever she started to pull herself up, we made sure she was pulling herself up on things that were okay for her. And so...
like the wall.
The wall, low tables, little things like that. Well, she had this one dresser she just loved to go to. And so she's crawling to it. I said, no, sweetheart. No, sweetheart. It's like a turtle. You cross the road, put it away, and it's like, no, I wanted to go that way. And it'll go right back across the street because it's looking for the closest body of water. For her, she wanted that dresser. It didn't matter where I put her in the room, that's where she was going to go. And the way our kitchen was set up, I could step up from that room and look over the counter and see her, and she couldn't see me. So I set her down, she stays still, I move around the cabinet, and she does this. And goes straight for the dresser. And I'm just like, seriously, there's no training there. That's the opposite of the training.
That's like the
that's sinful nature.
Yes.
Then it's like we were intentional. We weren't going to raise her to be one of those like unicorn princess girls, pink and whatever. But that's who she is. I mean, of all of them, more than any of them, she's like unicorns, pink, rainbows, and so a lot of it, like you can try to train something out of a person, and there are a lot of behavioral experiments.
Man, we could write a book on this.
And what is it?
Right.
There are, what is it? 7 lights, 5 lights? I forget the Picard thing, but
7.
Any Trekkies out there will know what I'm talking about. But there are tortures you can do to try to gain a response, but ultimately the child will only make godly changes if God changes them.
Yeah.
And so we as parents try to instill morals, virtue, a biblical worldview, but I don't expect coming to church, reading the Bible to change them. I expect God's Holy Spirit through those means to change their hearts.
So when your kids get a little bit older, because your oldest is like 8
Just
or 9?
turned 8 yesterday.
8. Awesome. Oh man, their birthdays are going to be close.
She wanted same day, but I told her, well, you're either gonna have a birthday party or we're gonna be in the hospital and you'll have a baby on your birthday. Like, your choice. Can't have both? No.
Can't have a birthday party at the hospital?
Nope. So, yeah.
But when your kids get a little older, how serious are you? Like when it comes to like the conversations you have with them about Christ, because like when they're young, you always want to put it in a manner where they can understand it. So like we have VBS and stuff where it's like it's fun because you're trying to get them engaged.
That's what we aim for.
Yeah, it's fun for them.
I have a blast.
You have a blast too because you're that type of human that likes to just like, have fun.
Pool noodles. I mean, how can you go wrong?
Well, that is fun. But what age do you think, or maybe not directly an age, but when do you think you're going to like specifically maybe start getting a little bit like, okay, so this is like not even telling the bad of the world and that's it, like, because like I feel like if you bombard a child with all the bad of the world and be like, but God is good, they're gonna completely forget what you said about God is good and just be like, what? So like, when do you think you're gonna start having like serious conversations with your kids?
I've already started.
You already started?
One of the things we try to do every night before they go to sleep is read the Bible. Mm-hmm. One of the cool things about our school is we have a weekly Bible memory program. So they're memorizing a theme, a topic, a verse, and then 2 chapter concepts. It's a 3-year program, so it goes Old Testament 1 year, Gospels the next year, and then Acts through Revelation after that.
They memorize some Revelation stuff?
Not much.
That's
but
good stuff.
The idea is, as we review those things throughout the school year, and then I'll read to them beyond that, we come across some awkward things, some exciting things. It's one of the beautiful things about most Reformed churches. We go verse by verse, and we handle what has to be handled.
So what book are you doing with your kids right now?
Well, we were doing John over the summer, but now that school's in session, we just we're doing the Bible memory work, which was the verse theme, our great salvation. First topic was all have sinned, and then it's John 3:19, which if my students are watching, they're like, "Oh, Mr. Kever, you failed the quiz." But it has to do with the fact that light has come into this world, but men love darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. And then they get Matthew 1, Joseph's genealogy, and Matthew 2, the visit of the Magi. And it just kind of gives you some little rungs in the ladder so that as you're going through things, like, when did people go visit Jesus? Those wise men?
Wise guys?
Timmy. Timmy's my wise guy. Jimmy's his brother, but they dropped him in the Hudson last week. Cement shoes. Way off top. So they'll be able to go back and say, "Oh, Matthew 2. This is magic."
That would be okay. You just gave me a really funny idea. Actually, that'd be really funny to like have them remember like verses. It'd be like, okay, you got to memorize Matthew 1. So I want you to read it. So they read it, and then as soon as they're about to finish, you like do something that like is threatening. So like you like throw them into a pool, and they're like, "Oh, I remember that time that Mr. Cover threw me in the pool, and that's how I remember Matthew 1 or whatever." Like just because you remember like things that are weird and like not normal. So like if you combine the two, so like.
Well, I have.
I mean, that could work.
You recite entire Revelation, and then you do skydiving. Or something like that.
Oh man, no, we try to come up with some clever ways of assisting recitation, memorization of facts and of poems and scripture. One of our teachers recorded herself singing all of the memory verses, so they can play that. They have that on CD.
See, I just got that cringe feeling. Remember, like that's the one area where I'm like,
hey.
The
value the word, and then whatever it takes to memorize it.
If there were more Bible memory verses that were in the rock tune, I might be down. Dude, that's an investment. I'm gonna like work. Man,
all right,
the
Insiders. The Insiders ends with a Z. I think it might even
their
have
entire
a
song
Y.
is like
Insiders.
memory
They
verses.
have 2 albums. Scalluya. And so it's ska versions, which is kind of a Detroit ska is a little bit heavier, horns, but they do psalms and hymns, and they have a pretty epic. What is it? Is it "This Little Light of Mine" or?
Oh, jeez.
I'm trying to remember, but anyway.
I can just
also, Becoming the Archetype does "How Great Thou Art." Becoming the Archetype, "How Great Thou Art."
I've thought about that sometimes when you're reading the Psalms. You're like, this is a hymn. Like, this should be made into a song. And it doesn't just have to be a worship song, maybe.
Our Presbyterian friends are better at that than we are.
Probably.
But, yeah, so Insiders, Scalluya, 1 and 2.
I'm going to look that up.
And that'll be some fun hymns and a couple of psalms. Psalm 119, they have a section, not the whole thing.
Oh, but I was about to be like, they fit that entire thing
that'd be epic.
into a song. That's a 10-minute song right there.
That's an album.
That's an album. Dude, that's a great idea.
There's another one, too. Oh, goodness. I think they have Roman numerals in their name. But it's a lady at a piano. I think she has some accompaniment and goes through psalms. Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, you think
Cool.
about it, like, as kids, like, they make, like, the kids' songs for, like, memory verses and stuff, and you're just like, and everybody our age is like, I mean, come on, you really expect me to listen to this on the daily to memorize a verse? So I'm pulling a PJ Panda here. We need to create a new genre of memory verses, and that's the rock genre, or it's maybe the rap genre. Honestly, PJ Panda could do like some memory verses for his thing, and I would be like, I'm not a big fan of rap, but that's a good idea.
Or
Now, I know some music. Have you ever heard of like they separate their intro with their actual song, so they have like a song intro. It's like a minute long. They can do something like with that, with like even Skillet and having like a nice like Psalms or something like that in there, but have it like song theme, but it also builds to the next song. If you know what I mean.
Oh, so you're saying like the end of the song is the beginning of the next song?
No,
Some bands do that.
Oh yeah, you could do that. But some songs just have like a minute to 2 minute
the
intro
middle?
for the next song, but you can add like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely people.
I think
like
that would be really cool.
Well, this has been fun. I
talk
think-
to Alessandro.
Oh, dude. I'm telling you, we got a great drum player. We just need to find... Elliot's not here, so we need to find someone that could shred on an electric guitar, and we can make a Christian rock band. Because you know I'd be trying to come up with some lyrics if I knew that we had major talent that could play it.
And you could direct the music video.
Yes,
I got
I
no
could do
talent,
that.
So
You got... Wait, what?
I got no talent, so I
Dude,
can't.
I
help
feel
you.
like that every single day.
We can dance
Do
in
you
the
play
background.
anything?
I tried learning the bass, tried learning piano, tried learning guitar.
Piano's fun. I do know
I stink at all of them. I can play the bass and read. I can read sheet music, and that's it. That's the only thing I'm okay at.
If you can read sheet music, then you can eventually play. But it
Yeah.
just takes time.
I just am not good at like sitting down and being like
Practicing?
Practice.
Discipline.
Yeah, I was about to say that's discipline.
Yeah. It's because it's hard for me to see the growth, because like something, when you like train yourself at something, you can see the growth in something. Like with video editing, if I make a video and I edit, I watch it back, I'm like, sick, and then I make another video the next day, and I'm like, this is even better, and I can see it. I can see the progress, like physically see it.
You can't see that in music.
Not me. Not when I would try. But
If you memorize a song,
get good
or
enough, you probably
learn
could.
how to play a song.
like I've seen
That's how you
Caleb.
play piano, right?
Caleb plays piano, and he plays it better than I ever will. And he has gotten better. I can see it. But it's been like 2-3 years, and I'm just like, I'm not good at long-term stuff.
Well, going back to having kids,
Why did I know it was going to go?
Long
Yeah.
term, you say now.
Long-term things personally, committing to something that is regarding me as a person improving.
like in fatherhood,
Yeah, I was
No,
about to
because
say, like,
that involves someone else, though. That involves
No.
something else. It's not just me, it's
That's-
involving someone else.
right? And who do you play for?
Mm-hmm.
Them.
Like,
What do you
who
mean?
do you play the piano for? Who do you play the instrument for at an audience?
Oh, me. Me. Me.
You play
Well,
it
when
for
you're
you.
practicing, you're playing for yourself.
No.
So, like,
No, I practice for other people.
One of the issues I have
in the moment, you're playing for yourself, though. You're trying to make it sound right for you. No one else is listening.
here.
Oh well, yes. But
Going back to
practicing, so I can play for other
family. One of the problems I have with the modern dating scene.
Oh, no. We're going
Oh, boy.
Now, I've not read, nor do I know anything about Joshua Harris's "I Kiss Dating Goodbye," except that he is now apostate. So
should all connect.
if this goes with what he was saying back then, well, if it's before he was apostate, maybe it was good. I don't know, but
Ooh, that's
the idea is a lot of people are dating in such a way that they're just training for divorce. And
Oh, that's so true, though.
That is-
so if you are, and I'll use my own experience. Crystal, my wife, and I were friends without any romantic interest for about 5 years.
Man, that's amazing.
And then we dated after that, and now we're married. But we got to know each other in a context where there was no like, sorry, excuse me, hey, there was none of that. And if there was, she probably would have been like, creep, and walked away. But because that's the way she is, she's awesome. So we knew exactly what we were getting into, and we both had a similar view of what we expected if we started dating. And that was, we know who we are, we're just going to see, and this should be leading to marriage. It's not marriage, but it should be going in that direction. And the same thing with how you interact with others is training for how you're going to eventually be interacting with your spouse, your children. If you, as an only child, I valued my friends. I valued my time with them, but I knew I was going to have that time alone. Like, dude, it was great to see you. Oh, good. Now I'm home. I can watch TV, play a game, do whatever I want to do without anyone else messing with me. And maybe my parents might, but like, I didn't have to worry about sharing space with anyone. Those of you with siblings, you're that much better off as far as training goes with sharing space. So I was training myself to be selfish. And so now looking back, I'm like, oh man, I see these things that were leading to something I didn't want. And so I would encourage you, if you have something that you have to practice and discipline yourself for, it's good training, even if you never get good at piano or guitar or music or art or programming or whatever it is you're training. The discipline, the practice of doing it and being consistent with it is good.
Yeah, it takes a lot of in you to do that.
A lot of people will comment on my beard when it gets bigger, and they're like, "Wow, a beard!" And I'm like, "It's good training for a long-term relationship. It's like marriage."
You know how badly I wish I could train in that way.
Start rubbing coffee grounds. And
Wait, that's a lie. You're lying. Is that a real thing?
You certainly can, really, in real life, rub coffee grounds on your
does
face.
that work?
You should try it.
If you think hard enough, it'll work.
No, I've thought about it a lot.
You should do a video series every day. Give yourself 5
This
minutes.
guy's trolling me.
5 minutes of rubbing
coffee grounds on my face.
But you want to do probably right after Dad makes the first pot or Mom makes the first pot in the morning, or you guys have a Keurig?
No, we don't have Keurig.
All right, so you get an actual pot of coffee, you get the grounds, they're wet, they're moist, just kind of cake them on there. You want to rub them around to enliven the pores, and then, yeah, man.
I can't tell if you're serious.
Do it for a month, video it every day, and see the growth.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to get like an allergic reaction, and you're just going to look at me and be like,
do you drink
"Got
coffee?
him." No.
Well, don't rub your like Boost or Blast or whatever that
Protein shake?
whatever those drinks are.
Get the protein powder.
Does the protein powder work? You're a liar.
Yeah, sure.
Shut up. You're not. I'm actually
It
curious.
works.
Is that like something that you actually know works?
Oh no, I've never done it. I was able to grow this back in like 8th, 9th grade, 10th grade.
Okay, how old were you when you first had a beard?
All right, so I had sideburns starting maybe 8th, 9th grade, like right about there.
No, like
And
actual full beard.
then this had about this much length. After my junior year, I came back after the summer because I wasn't allowed to grow facial hair at school. So I had about this much growth over 2.5, 3 months.
And how old were you?
So that was 17.
17.
And then once I stopped working at Busch Gardens, which was my first job out of high school, worked in cash control, finance department. where the director was my high school wrestling coach, but the vice president of operations also knew me because his kid was on the wrestling team as well. And so he'd see me. You've got the VP of operations for the Busch Gardens drives by in his golf cart. I'm driving by in a golf cart. And he's like, Keffer, sideburns, get him above the ear. I'm like, oh. Because, it's one thing to get called out by, like, your supervisor, but to get called out by somebody high up is even worse. I should have just been following the rules. But, by my
That's
early
just
20s, I was, I think, growing a full beard.
I've just learned that it's genetics. It can't be helped. I've tried things.
Try the coffee grounds.
I'm not going to try the coffee grounds unless I know it will work.
How will you know it'll work unless you try it?
If someone
You
says it's
already
worked.
know he's gonna go look at videos once we're done here.
Yep.
You already know it.
I looked up how to grow a beard on Google multiple times.
Oh
And
my
they,
goodness.
one of the
But
things.
did you type in hashtag coffee grounds?
No. The main thing they said was testosterone grows it. Basically, it was like the main thing I got out of it.
So those little Spanish banana things that
Basically.
you smash the bananas. And
You
But
eat
they
the
didn't say,
rinds,
well, they
right?
said eat it. So if I eat coffee grounds, maybe I could see that maybe working, but
Eat coffee grounds.
I wouldn't
I
necessarily.
don't know if you could do that or not.
You can eat the coffee bean. They're
Yeah,
really
bean,
good
bean,
in chocolate.
bean. Yeah, bean. Yeah, I don't know what I'm
That'd be
talking about.
interesting.
That's funny. But it says it like eggs and stuff, and I've been eating a lot of protein. I don't know if that's gonna help, but I've discovered that I really enjoy protein, like heavy stuff, like the protein bars and protein snacks. I'm a big fan of those
Yeah.
because I know I'm getting something out of it a little bit. So I'm like,
Well, you've got the build where you just eat whatever you want. Enjoy it.
I do
people
for
like
the next
me,
3 years.
it's like-
it's gonna go.
I need to not eat that fifth cookie.
I haven't had cookies in a
No, I
while.
feel like I'm straight in the middle.
You're fine. What are you talking about?
That's why I said straight in the middle. So you need.
Okay.
Okay, never
Anyways, I gotta say we can probably.
I think they know what
Stop
I'm
it.
saying.
Yeah, we can end it here. Thank you guys for coming on. This was a great time. A lot of fun conversation. These are the types of conversations that I enjoy having because they really motivate me to be better in the next week. So, yeah. Even though I didn't get my Sunday school this morning because I slept in.
Shame.
I slept in. I'm fessing up to my thing.
We're
This is the
going into
conversation.
his room next week, right?
Next week.
Well, you won't be here,
No, whether if I'm not
but
here.
I got you. If he doesn't show,
They have
if you're-
instructions.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, what?
You
Nothing?
know the deal. If
Yeah.
you miss 2 weeks in a row, that second week we come visit.
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
Room raid.
Oh, room raid.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I'll be here next week.
Better be.
You better be 5 minutes early too.
You better open it up.
Well, I'm really trying. This week, I'm trying to wake up at 8 a.m. every week. So, whether that goes well.
Wake up
we should
and get dressed and get to Sunday school.
Well, see, here's the thing.
And
Once I'm
breakfast.
awake,
Yeah.
I'm awake, I'll be ready. But my problem is I sleep. I try to sleep as much as I can and then get ready really fast. So,
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just send somebody to pound on the door as soon as they get here.
I'll
That
be
gives
up,
you plenty of time.
hopefully, as long as they don't stay up. Stay away, Sam. Let's just go out of here. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next podcast.